Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Today on the show, I interviewed Naïm Terrache. We owe him so much because he was the inspiration for starting my own podcast. He interviewed me 3 years ago on his very own wedding podcast. And now he works as an officiant in Paris, helping couples get married and share their love story. He's a born and raised Parisian, and we chat today about what inspired him to start his very own business in the City of Light. So welcome to the show, Naïm. How are you?
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm scared. I've been listening to your show so many times, and now this is it. Wow. I'm super glad to be here.
This is it. He is finally on. It's so great to interview you because you are the inspiration for the show. If you guys don't know it, Naïm actually interviewed me before the pandemic for his own podcast, all about planning a wedding in Paris. And after doing the show with him, I was like, oh, I want to make a podcast. So Naïm, we have to thank Naïm, everybody, because he's the reason the show exists.
Well, I'm very honored, and
got to give credit.
Congratulations to you because you've done very well. And you stick to your words. This is what I like about you. You said it and you did it. You didn't just talk the talk. So congratulations to you. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for helping me so much with the show. But enough about me. Let's talk about Naïm. I want to talk about your Paris story. Now, you are a born and raised local Parisian, which we don't get many of those on the show. So talk a little bit about your life in Paris.
Well, yes. You always have to have one French guy a little bit like messing up the thing, you know. So this is it. I'm here. Yeah, I'm born in Paris, 1986. Seems like 2 centuries ago now with all that happened since. Yeah, I'm born and raised here. I grew up in Paris, and I had a very good life, to be honest. Like a middle class family, never lacked anything. We had like plenty of gifts for Christmas, you know, this sort of thing. And yeah, I always was open to the world when I was a kid. I grew up in the 90s. For those remembering, we had a lot of American movies, and the American culture always amazed me. I really loved it. And I remember I always wanted to go to see the world and America someday. And it's something that I did with the time. And I'm glad I've done that. But life in Paris used to be very good, and it changed a lot. I'm not saying it's bad; it's just different right now. But in the 90s, when I grew up, it was some kind of ideal childhood memories that you can have. I don't know if I'm talking like an old person, but this is how I feel. The only thing that didn't change about Paris is its magic and the way that the rest of the world sees it always keeps me amazed by like the purity of when I see shows like Emily in Paris. French people say, oh, like this is different from what we see, but it is. But in a way, this is like the ideal thing that Paris should be and should stay. So through my work, through my wedding business, I enjoy seeing people who are not from here, and keeps Paris magic as it should be.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's people always ask me if I'm watching that show, Emily in Paris, and I watched a couple episodes, and what I really loved about it is like it's beautifully shot. Like there's no trash cans, there's no dog poo. It's like just makes Paris look very ideal, as you said. And in our line of work, we get to see ideal Paris from visitors' eyes because we're working with people. It's their first time in Paris. It's a dream, and they're getting married, even more dreamy. So I think that kind of keeps Paris really beautiful for both of us.
Definitely. It's, yeah, like you said, you live through the eyes of the people you work with or you're surrounded. And yeah, it always keeps me super happy to maintain this magical feeling and try to never forget it, especially for us Parisians.
Yeah, we can all become quite jaded after spending too much time in Paris, especially for you. You were born there, you've seen a lot of changes over the years and different emotions coming from the city. But talk a little bit about like traveling before. So you've come back to Paris, you work as a wedding officiant now, you help people get married and share their love story. But what happened before that? What led you on this path?
Wow. Yeah, kind of crazy story that I have to go through. So I hope you have an hour or two for me. the the thing where I should start is probably Spain, where I left from Paris in the year 2009. I was working in the hospitality business. I used to work in the Moulin Rouge in Paris for years, and I decided to move to change because I wanted to see the world. So I started with Spain, not very far away from France, but it was quite exotic for a Parisian. You had sun at least, and much more sun and much more warm weather. So I just bought it and I said, "Let's go." I used to work in a venue in a beach club actually in Spain for a while, and this is when I got involved into the wedding business because I used to run events in this particular place. And what I discovered is a great industry, and I was, reaching out to photographers, wedding planners, videographers, makeup artists, like the whole show. And all those people, they were happy to work. They were always smiling and they were always happy. That's the first thing that crossed my mind. And I was helping wedding planners to actually like schedule the day of the wedding and go and have dinner or have drinks and have a party at my venue where I was working. And one day I realized that they were also celebrating ceremonies before coming to my venue. And the location of these ceremonies, they were right to the beach next to the venue I was working. And it was run by a British guy named Paul. Paul, if you can hear me, thank you for changing my life. And Paul became my friend. He was an older British guy, very kind, very, very funny, and super effective on his work. So he was running the ceremonies. He was an officiant. And we became friends with time. He was coming before ceremonies, having drinks, just to say hi. And throughout the days, we became friends because he was running a lot of wedding ceremonies in the summer. Coming up to one day where he called me and he said, "Look, I have a double booking." It was not very organized, but he had a double booking. So he said, "I need your help. You need to do a ceremony for me. Can you help me?" And I was like terrified. I said, "Whoa, what do you mean? Like, I'm not an officiant. I'm not a priest. I can't do that. It will sound very false, and I don't think I'm the right guy to do this." And he convinced me. He said, "I think you're great, and I think your English is good enough, and you're the right person, and actually you have no choice, so you have to do it." So I said yes, and he trained me for a few days, showed me everything, and I did it, and it was great. I mean, nobody killed me, so I guess I passed with success, and everybody was happy. So I kept this in my mind, and I thought that, yeah, this could work like as a business for me, like one day. Then I quit Spain. I quit my job because I was tired of it. And I moved to Los Angeles, California for a while, to do a lot of other stuff, not related to weddings and not related to hospitality. And that was great. I had a great time there. But before the pandemic, I had to go back to Paris. We're talking about 2019, the end of the year 2019. And through the pandemic, I had to stay in Paris. I couldn't travel anymore, so I decided to settle down in Paris and go back. And this is where the idea of the wedding business came into my head. And I said to myself, look, I'm going to try to do this and do ceremonies for English speaking people in Paris and see how it goes. And it was probably not the right time to do this or to think about this in 2020, right before a worldwide pandemic where everybody's plan was changing. But I did it, and my business survived, and now it works. And this is the story of me doing ceremonies in Paris.
I love it. And I see you almost on a daily basis because I'm out taking pictures. You're out marrying people. I mean, it's like an office colleague, you know. We see each other in the office every day. And talk about what it means. Yeah, the office. Talk about what it means to be an officiant, because some people might be confused. They're like, okay, what does he do? He's not in a church. So like, what does that actually mean? What is an officiant doing?
It's a great question, because I used to ask this question myself, like, what is this, you know? For me, as a Frenchman, a classical thing that people would do is getting married at the town hall officially, and then maybe go to the church to run another religious or spiritual ceremony, or else go to directly to a place and have a drink or two and have dinner. That was the classic way to get married on a wedding day. But I realized that the market changed, and a lot of people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different nationalities, etc., they were getting married, with the world going smaller every day. So people, I don't know if you agree with that, but people tend to have less big wedding ceremonies, or church, or or town hall official. They just want to get to say yes and have a good time and do something very simple sometimes. So an officiant is this person, is the person who's going to talk to you, get to know you, hear about you, through a questionnaire, through details, through phone calls, through emails, and have a grasp of what you're looking for your ceremony. Do you want something simple? Do you want something very formal? Do you want something very funny, etc.? To create a script together and be the person delivering the ceremony, the speech on the day of your wedding. It could be an elopement, just like when we cross in the morning with Crystal on Paris landmarks near the Eiffel Tower, on public spaces, public gardens, etc. Or else it can be in one of many 5-star hotels in Paris who agree to do some events, private events like this with your family or friends. So to answer your question, my ceremonies are not legal. They're not like official ceremonies. They're just symbolic. And this is just some memories that you're going to create, just the two of you, or the two of you and your friends and family here in Paris or in France.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, a lot more people don't want the traditional sense of a wedding. They want to have a good time. They want to be somewhere beautiful and just like sharing that romance. And you create a space for that. And it's really a beautiful thing, because I think a lot of people, especially weddings, get wrapped up in like, what does the family want and how much money and then. And like it totally takes away from the romance in some ways.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
and a big part of your job is writing now. I mean, you listen to people's love stories, you do a questionnaire, and you write a story to talk about on the day when you officiate their marriage. So, talk about your writing process. I mean, you're a writer now.
Yeah, I became a writer. It's more about getting to understand what people want and then give them some sort of like a script, a ceremony draft with all the pieces that everyone expects during the ceremony, the welcoming of the guests, if there is some, the meaning of marriage, the exchange of the vows, the exchange of the rings, all these things. Like, this is the classic thing that people want or at least expect during the ceremony, but it's much more than that. It's about saying some details, talk about some things, maybe avoid some topics. I have a lot of people who don't want to talk about special things or don't mention some things. They're going to ask me about should we do a speech? Should we do some speeches during the ceremony? And I'm always going to give my advice and say, look, this is your ceremony, not mine. I will be the person delivering it. But yeah, at the end of the day, you have to be happy with everything that's going to be said. So I tend to write a lot about in the first sections of the ceremony draft. I tend to talk about how they met, how the couple met, how they get engaged, like to get some sort of stories about them, and get to just by reading these answers, I can feel the tone, if it's going to be serious, if it's going to be formal, if it's going to be very easygoing and just a kiss and seal the deal, this sort of thing. So I spend a lot of time reading first the questionnaire that I send to my couples, and then I just give myself some time and let my brain process a lot. And then I come up with some ideas, some formulations, the way that I'm going to say it, when, at what point. And then I submit it to my couple. And I tell them not to rush, because it takes time as well to get to know me and like hear my voice. For example, this is why I always do a video call before I get hired. Because when people see me or hear me, they already know if I'm going to be the right person or not, which is exactly the reason why I do this. And it's great. I'm going to be in front of them for at least 30 minutes on their wedding day, and they have to be comfortable with everything I'm going to say and how I look. So I always do this first. And when I send them the draft, they start to picture me saying these words, and they like it or they're not. And then we're doing back and forth email together, and we're taking the time to come to the perfect draft. So I get better at writing right now, and this kind of training, and I actually enjoy it.
Yeah, it's something really special because you're writing their story together. So, and it's one of the most important days in a lot of people's lives. So, what a special thing to be a part of. And now, as someone has worked with many people from around the world and being a local French person yourself, I mean, you've seen so many weddings, so many different people, but tell me some of the main differences between how the French view weddings or do weddings and how Americans view and do weddings. Like, what are some of the things that kind of surprised you as a French person working with Americans?
I really like this question because many of my friends in Paris, French people, think they understand what I'm doing, but they're not really into it. They think I'm a wedding planner, for example, which is a great work that I respect.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't think I have the skill to do this. The main difference was between French people and American people, I would say, is that American people are already happy to be here. I'm not saying French are grumpy. I'm French, and I'm not going to say this. But it's never going to be possible to, for example, to bring a French couple in front of the Eiffel Tower and do a ceremony there because they're French and they're from Paris, for example. So it's just like you would take two Californians people and bring them in front of the Hollywood sign. I'm not trying to compare here, but it's just like, just for American people to get an idea of what I'm saying. People would never do that, and I understand that. So the main difference is this: French people here, they're doing things officially. Like I said before, they're going to go to the town hall and have a party afterwards. And it's going to be great. But American people, what I love is that they come here and they're already happy to be here. And it's creating a different, very different vibe. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But it's great to see this because they're maybe the American couple don't realize that, but they are actually bringing me into their world instead of the opposite. This is how I feel, and when I see the happiness and the starry eyes of my couples, I feel really, really blessed to be a part of their day. Like I said, I'm just there for a short period of time on their wedding day, and we have to make it count. So I always see this difference when I marry American people or English speaking people compared to my fellow French citizens.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different experience. Like you said, you don't have New Yorkers getting married in Times Square. So I think we come there for the monuments, for the Eiffel Tower, where French people are like, not so much. And I'm sure after marrying so many people, do you have any funny stories or any surprising stories from the wedding day?
Well, yeah, I had few, but my most recent memory was a very funny one. But on the moment, it's always like this, crazy stories on the moment, and then it ends up as a funny story afterwards. So you have to, that, but people listening, they have to know that weddings in Paris, if you do a public ceremony in Paris, you have to wake up very early to avoid the crowds. So like that, your photos look great and there's barely anyone on the pictures. If you go to places like the Eiffel Tower from 8 in the morning, you always have like tons of tourists and people going there to see the places. So to avoid this, we always meet up very early. So I had this this wedding last summer in the Jardin des Tuileries next to the Louvre Museum, and the bride and groom, they were very jet lagged and super tired because they flew the day before. So we're preparing, we're getting ready. The photographer is here, checking out the lights, etc. And I'm trying to get them relaxed, as always, like close their eyes. And I'm just asking to the groom, do you have the rings with you? And suddenly he opens his eyes, like super scared, and he's like, oh my God, I forgot them in the room. So that was, but this kind of thing happened more than you think, but that was a critical moment because we were ready to start. So, and we couldn't start without the ring. So, we managed, as always. We found a way. First, we found a way to avoid him getting killed by the bride. That was the first objective.
Yeah.
And then I took a cab with the groom, and we've been to the hotel, and he was super stressed. But then in the end, everything went well. But it's this kind of moments where you think that everything is going to fall apart. But it was only a 20-minute story at the end, and a good memory, great story to tell. I'm sure he remembers.
Yeah, I think the things that go wrong are what we're going to remember forever and laugh about. So maybe people, whenever you're worried about things being perfect, like actually it makes it even better when things go wrong in some ways because you have a fun story to tell your grandchildren
Definitely.
and not getting murdered by your wife. And why do you think creatives are attracted to Paris? I mean, as someone who's lived in Paris and you've met so many people through your job, but for you, why do you think so many artists and creatives continuously arrive to Paris?
I think Paris has this special vibe. Um, we are like when I say we, I say French people and people also foreigners like you who came up to Paris. And sometimes I have a coffee with you and I realize that you're more French than me. I'm like, wow, she knows this, or wow, she does that. I think it's very easy to become a Parisian. That's the first thing. It's very easy to become French. Um, Many people, we have a history of like geographic empires and colonization as well, but the end of this is just more rich and more value for anyone who comes here, and you feel welcome. Maybe not by every French waiter in the city, but you always feel welcome in general. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to tell you things that you shouldn't do or you shouldn't think. You can be whoever you want in Paris. That's the thing that I'm like 100% sure about. Um, you can develop yourself and get to know people very slowly compared to America. I have to say, uh, what I always loved in America was this speed of contact. You get to know some people and they're very close to you very quickly. In France, I would say it's the opposite, because people are more not careful, but they're slower, I think, than American people, to not to trust you, but get to get you inside their world, let's say. But once you're there, you can be there forever. And yeah, artists are always trying to get some inspiration and get some ease of contact with the world, and that's two of the reasons that I think it's a great place for that. Because yeah, you can be whoever you want here. If you have like the guts to say I want to go to Paris and say and do my thing just like you did, you're not going to have like people would believe in you, and people will say, yeah, go, yeah, do that. So Paris is very special, and it will always be special because of this attraction that lights up the world for that. I'm being very proud here, but this is the truth.
It's great to see a French person being so patriotic.
Finally, there's one. Oh, we are very patriotic. We love our country, but not in a bad way. I think every
Yeah,
country likes its own culture, and yeah, compared to the rest of the world, in a friendly way. But it's good to be, yeah, it's good to like your country, I think.
for sure. And so many people share the love of France that you have for your own country, rightly so. And is there something that you wish that foreigners knew about Paris that they often miss? I mean, especially being a local, born and raised there, what's something you wish foreigners knew that they miss a lot of times?
That's a good question. I wish that. Well, yeah, I have a good answer. I'm not gonna say I wish they knew that there were pickpockets in the subway. This is not a good way to promote Paris. So yeah, I'll be always very careful in the subway. But no, what I would say is I wish people knew more about popular popular area, let's say, because Paris is divided, like as you know, it's divided into sides, rive droite and rive gauche, uh, divided by the river, the Seine, and people are much more likely to go in the rive droite area because of the monuments and the Eiffel Tower and etc. But rive gauche, the left bank, is very nice. and not so famous. Like, I mean, if I say I'm going to say the location now, and many people can find very touristic places in this area, but in the 5th arrondissement, in the 20th arrondissement, there is plenty of hidden spots, hidden gems, and I don't see many tourists over there. So this is my recommendation. I would say to go to Place Monge. I'm talking. This is the names that I give from the subway station near Mouffetard. Rue Mouffetard is very famous, but in this area there's a lot of places that are hidden. And yeah, I wish people knew that more, because this is where you can find some really nice places. And also, in the 15th arrondissement, there is a lot of great food. This is the thing that I realized very recently, but a lot of local food, butchers and like boulangerie. Oh my God, you can go fat really, really quickly. So have to be careful.
Well fed in those areas. That's great advice. Yeah, I think a lot of people, because it's their first trip to France, they want to do like the main attractions. But it is good to get out there and explore some different places, some different cultures, and I agree with you completely. There's so much to do. You need multiple trips to Paris, guys. Don't just do one trip. And how would you define creativity in your own words?
Creativity is something that comes from within, and there is a book there that I read. I don't remember the title, but it was always about creation comes from ideas, and you always have to put your ideas in reality, but it always starts with an idea. And to back up this sentence, they were saying that everything that you see, no matter where you are right now, if you take a look around you right now, you will see plenty of things, objects, cars, you name it. Everything comes from an idea. So this taught me a lot, and I try to always remind me this when I talk about creativity. It's like, just like you started photography in Paris, you started this successful podcast in Paris. It was all an idea at first, and I remember I was next to you. We were drinking coffee, recording a show together, and you said, "I want to do this podcast." So everything that you've did since came up from this idea. So I would say my idea is never forget that you can create anything. And it's not only having ideas, it's just put them to life. And creativity is all about this. Life is a creation. Not getting too philosophical here, but it's true. So trust your instinct and trust your ideas and work for them. This is for me the definition of creativity.
Yeah, I love that. It's all about, we all have ideas, but taking action on them is the main component here. And it doesn't really become anything unless you start moving on it. And yeah, I like that. That's a great definition. And I think that's a great note to end on. Where can people connect with you online, follow your work, hire you to marry them, get advice?
You can find me on theparisiancelebrant.com. And I'm also on Instagram. I'm sure you will leave this in the show notes. I know you. It's the Parisian Celebrant on Instagram. You can reach out to me through DMs or email, and we can start to talk about your day in Paris.
Thanks so much. And I can't wait to see what you'll do next. And thanks for sharing your story today.
Thank you again. It's an honor to be here, and I'll see you soon somewhere in Paris for sure.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.